In the last series, we mentioned that we wouldn't suggest you visit the KSC Visitor Complex if you only had a few hours to spare on the Space Coast because you couldn't come close to seeing it all and getting your significant money's worth. But there are some places to see cool stuff like rocket launches, but you have to be lucky with timing, and some of them don't cost you a thing. The closest place you can get to a launch pad without a badge or pass is Playa Linda Beach, just 5 kilometers north of Pad A. Next is Titusville, and there are plenty of publicly accessible viewpoints along Highway 1. This is the quickest spot to reach from the interstate if you have limited time. Another good spot is south at Port Canaveral and the adjacent beaches. That looks further, but when you factor in some of the other possible launch and landing spots at Cape Canaveral Space Force Base, it might be worth the drive. Let's start at Playa Linda. You do have to pay to enter the Canaveral National Seashore, but if you bring a carload of friends, they don't have to pay extra. There's a good view of pads 39A and B from along the road. There are birds in lagoons and fish to catch from the ocean. There isn't much touristy stuff, so the beach lovers can have plenty of space in the sand and water, while we walk down to where you can see some of the launch pads on a good day. If you brought your fishing gear, you can see if you can catch something even if there's no rockets to see. It's closed at night, which rules out views of the many night launches from here. For Titusville, you can watch a launch from anywhere along the Indian River that's publicly accessible. But if there's not a launch, you definitely have to go to Spaceview Park and check out the monuments to human spaceflight. The park and parking is free. If you walk out on the pier, there are covered spots to sit where you can clearly see the vehicle assembly building at KSC, which we covered in another video. To our left is the Max Brewer Bridge we took from Playa Linda. Florida is so flat people will sometimes walk across the arching bridge to get a better view of launches. Walk by monuments to the first American astronauts from the Mercury program from the early 1960s. The sculpture represents the Project Mercury logo, which is a symbol for the planet Mercury with a 7 in the middle. You can see casts of most of their handprints. You might notice that they are rather average-sized humans. Big people would have been at a disadvantage fitting into the tiny capsule, plus every bit of weight requires more fuel to launch.
Selected to fly in the Mercury spacecraft, the astronauts: Malcolm S. Carpenter, Leroy G. Cooper, Jr., John H. Glenn, Virgil I. Grissom, Walter M. Schirra, Alan B. Shepard, Donald K. Slayton. It has become evident that full utilization of space flight requires man's ability to participate. Human intelligence and decision-making capacities are essential.
There are tiles in the walkway for each of their missions. The first was Alan Shepard and the second was Gus Grissom. Their missions were suborbital like the SpaceX Starship flight tests, but John Glenn's Friendship 7 was the first to complete an orbit, then decelerate to exit orbit and return to Earth. Next were Scott Carpenter, the only Navy pilot in the group, Wally Schirra, and Gordon Cooper. As you walk away from the wire, look down on the ground to see plaques for each of the missions. If you've been to Heroes and Legends at KSC, the names will be familiar, but we have a bit of background in case it's all new to you. When you get to the end of the Mercury program plaques, go a short block north to see another set of monuments to the Gemini program. The name Gemini refers to the twin stars Castor and Pollux and was the second American space program with two-person crews. It is often overlooked now between the pioneering Mercury program and the Apollo moon landings, but it achieved some important milestones like docking in space and working outside in space that are still used today. We've added some actual pictures and videos to bring these stones to life.
Astronauts Walter Schirra and Thomas Stafford were to have rendezvoused and docked their spacecraft with the target vehicle.
Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Three, two, one. Ignition. Push that down, 76.
It was a great disappointment. We've made 2 attempts to launch and still no liftoff.
Approximately 15 feet apart.
Gemini 7, are you able to see in the windows of 6 very easily and vice versa?
Roger, 7 here.
A bit of all right. Okay, the first thing we really have to do, platform parallelism, 650 to 710.
Okay, Gemini 8, we have TM solid. You're looking good on the ground. Go ahead and dock.
Reached the area at 3:17 p.m. local time. Crew and spacecraft, both in good shape, were soon aboard. Within 72 hours, NASA scientists would pin down the source of trouble. A short circuit in the wiring of the number 8 yaw thruster had caused it to fire erratically.
Reports that the docking adapter shroud had not completely separated.
It looks like an angry alligator out here rotating around.
I can imagine.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Ignition as we go.
Program has started.
How you doing? Tired, Pete. All right, just rest. Yeah, you got plenty of time. Only been out 9 minutes. Can I have an 11? I tell you, you need to go up here and the world is real. You got a good view? I mean, it's spectacular. Girl, it's utterly fantastic. You wouldn't believe it.
The chief advantage of underwater simulation is that it gives a training EVA pilot continuity of tasks. As such, it is a valuable addition to zero-G simulations in aircraft.
The second lesson that I think we learned concerns the value of the underwater training.
The beachwear store near the park is a decent place to get a NASA t-shirt if you are just driving along the coast, but the rooftop area isn't as good a spot as the pier unless you want to look at the condo buildings and the palm trees that are between it and KSC. After crossing the street, you will see the Apollo Monument. The statue of a man represents President Kennedy and the famous words, "We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard."
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I might have told you that I was part of the Artemis I virtual space crew that orbited the moon for a month, and he was right. It is hard like a giant rock, and I prefer soft. It's either too hot or too cold, and never just right, and lacks the 3 things needed for life, namely air, water, and Wi-Fi. But it was a goal the country got together and achieved by the target date. The panels show different aspects of building and launching.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
And then newspapers announcing the first moon landing.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
We copy you down, Eagle.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Nearby are monuments with paw prints of the Apollo astronauts. Here's Buzz Aldrin from Apollo 11. Then the first human to step on the moon, Neil Armstrong. Nearby is an interesting one from Alan Bean of Apollo 12. Did you notice he had his fingers crossed? Maybe he was superstitious. Cosmonaut Alexei Leonov was the first spacewalker and trained for the crew of the Russian moon mission that was canceled after Apollo got there first. What are his paw prints doing here? He got to meet the last Apollo crew in space by being on the other side of the Apollo-Soyuz mission in 1975. The Shuttle Memorial has a section for each of the shuttle orbiters. Enterprise was just a glider to test being able to land. Then the Columbia, which made the first mission in 1981 and was lost in 2003 on its 28th mission. Challenger, that was first launched in 1983 and lost on takeoff in 1986. Discovery, which was first launched in 1984 and is now at the Smithsonian's Udvar-Hazy Center. Atlantis, which was first launched in 1985 and is now at the KSC Visitor Complex. And Endeavour, which was first launched in 1992 and is now at the California Science Center in Los Angeles. You can walk a few blocks to the American Space Museum, whose foundation provided the outdoor monuments we just saw. They have a few exhibits from Mercury to Shuttle you can see in an hour or two. Here's a model of a Saturn V and launch platform that is taller than a human and has autographs of some of the Apollo astronauts. But if you get distracted on the way over by some yummy smells, you might have to visit one of my new favorite places in
Do you
Titusville.
have any donuts?
No.
How about bear claws?
No, but I have scone.
Oh, I'll buy it, thanks.
You're welcome.
They didn't have donuts, but I'm still happy. We'll have to save Port Canaveral for another video. I'm going to enjoy my lunch.
Yet the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first. To be sure, we are behind, and will be behind for some time in manned flight. But we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade we shall make up and move ahead. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.